You can count on my love. I don't even know any of the words to that song. I probably shouldn't sing that as we're entering then. Hey, Kaylin, wow, yeah. You got here quick. Su- Kaylin, you got here really fast. Susan must like you. I I did not know there was anybody out there that Susan liked. So it looks like it's going to be just you and me for a while here. Oh, here comes some others. Okay. Hey, Lord, money in my mind. Z Hills, Jonathan, Willie, Jennifer, Psycho Boy, Krusty Bomb, Gimster, Cody Gone, Kaylin Anbu, Trevor, names the Goblin. I like that. Well, thank you, CDV. Hey, listen, I want to let you guys know right off the top too, and I'll repeat this obviously as we go along. Um, we won't be doing only political streams with Curtis 2024 being a thing. I had some stuff, and right now, obviously, with the election still in limbo, some things. This is when things are really popping politically, but tomorrow is Free for All Friday. That never changes because I was going to go off the political thing today, but then I got thinking, well, tomorrow it's the best day of the week. It's for any of you who haven't been here for a Free for All Friday stream. If you can make it, and bizarre goings on do not bother you, you should stop by. But during we'll with the political streams will be a regular thing, but also the talking about anything else will be. As a matter of fact, one of the next topics we're going to take that's out of the political theater is we're going to have one where we discuss fast food because that's very important to a fat man like me, and discuss the ones that are the best, the worst, the ones that make you sit on the toilet the longest, the ones where the people working there seem to be really disturbed by the fact that you're patronizing their establishment, the whole nine. Um, this is such an exciting debate, Kenny says. uh, it's such a good. Well, Kenny, it's gonna. The thing of it is, we're not going to know the ultimate results of this election for some time because it's obviously going to be tied up in the courts and through the entire system for quite a while here because all of these, so many of the swing states are just coming down to minimal amounts of votes. It looks like now too, no matter whether Trump holds on in what is it, North Carolina, Georgia, and what state am I forgetting? Um, North Carolina, Georgia. Why is it gone right out of my head? The other state that Trump's trying to hold on in. Anyway, those three states are going to be desperately close. Wisconsin's desperately close. Michigan, they're already contesting, and that wasn't even as close. Nevada, Arizona have a chance to be hotly or to be that tight as well. Pennsylvania, thank you, Will. I just completely blanked. Pennsylvania is the other one that's, no matter which way those go, we already know it's going to be ridiculously close. Thank you, everybody. I don't know why Pennsylvania's our neighbor, and everybody here in Pennsylvania just went, fuck, dude. Why are we forgettable? Yes. So you've got all those states that are going to be contested, and okay, let's take an improbable but possible scenario. Let's say that Trump holds all three of those that he's leading in and comes back and wins Nevada or Arizona. Now he would get the nomination. So then by all means, obviously the Democrats are going to contest some of those results. So yeah, we're gonna be tied up in shit for a while. It's Sean. How do you feel about Trump saying the election is a fraud? I, Obviously, so far, I have not seen any proof of fraudulent activity. But I have never been a supporter of sending out ballots unsolicited to people because I just think it adds an extra layer of potential for concerns. And that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, you've always been able to request a ballot, an absentee ballot, and that's a good thing. But that's a whole entirely different thing. Now you're talking a limited number of people where the government receives the request, they send out the ballot. It's much cleaner and neater than trying to effectively send out ballots to everybody on the voter roll. We're already seeing where there's been a number of people got more than one. There's been ballots sent out to people who have been since deceased, and then the mail system itself. I've had stuff lost in the mail a number of times. It's just there's a lot of extra concerns. I never realized, and I don't think it actually is. I think it's just a political strategy. Why is it that difficult for a seeming, or at least they want to purport a seemingly significant number of people to be able to get to the polls on election day? I know that there aren't as many polling places in some regions as there used to be, but my stance on that is if you're interacting with the government in any way, to get your driver's license, to get whatever it may be, where you have to go to a government office and you've been able to accomplish it, why are you unable to once a year, or a lot of people only vote in presidential elections, once every 4 years, make arrangements to get yourself to a polling place? And rather than go to something like sending out ballots to everybody, I'd rather the government put some money up and say, okay, we're going to set up a system in these regions that are affected. We believe that where people may have issue getting to their polling places, and we'll set up means of transportation for them. I don't know. I just don't like having another variable in there. Have I seen any concrete evidence so far of fraud? No. Are there some things they do need to question? Yes. I mean, the Trump administration has brought up some stuff that I would like to see answers to. For instance, that big dump of votes in Pennsylvania that came in the wee hours of the morning that all went for Biden. There could be a perfectly legitimate explanation for it, but something like that is something that you would like to see that perfectly legitimate explanation for.
Oh,
Gimster says, I think you guys should elect Elon Musk as your next prez, solely due to him being a weeb. He said he's going to try and make cat girls a reality. And I wouldn't put anything past Elon Musk either, Gimster. Now, I kind of like Elon. I think he's a brilliant guy, and I think he keeps life on this planet really fascinating. So I like Elon Musk. And if he's going to and he is a weeb, which is a definite positive. I didn't know about the cat girls thing, but I'm on board. I'll support him on it. Sean says, yeah, it's a little bit different in this case, my opinion, between the COVID, voter intimidation, having weird windows in high traffic pole areas for low income areas. High weird windows? I'm not sure what you mean by that part, Sean. Well, I think I understand the COVID thing. For me personally, and maybe it's just because I've follow, these are the types of things that I follow with great intensity. I don't have any fears of going out and voting and stuff because I understand COVID and how it spread. And to me, it's not that difficult to go to a polling place and do the things I need to do to keep myself safe. Do it. Yes. What I think they should do, the government should have done, and this is on the Republican side, is rather than go to mass mailing of of ballots, they should have made sure that every district had more polling places available. That would have decreased the lines, which would have alleviated some of the stress people feel about COVID. Yes, this is definitely an exception this year, but in any event, that's why I've never been a fan of just sending out ballots. It's just because of the potential, even if there isn't any wrongdoing, the potential for seeming impropriety gets substantially greater. That's why I'm just not a fan of it. Alex says, Alex Jones 2024, turn the frogs straight. Yeah, those goddamn frogs. Oh, and while I think of it, while I got you guys here, in the title, when I'm talking about campaign buttons, at some point soon, I plan on having campaign buttons made. You guys got to help me come up with a good catchphrase. Something good. Curtis 2024, then fill in the blank. And then in a little bit, let me catch up with you guys. We'll be talking about healthcare and what we think. Levi, I hadn't heard that. I thought they said the 140K votes for Biden were an error in the website, not the actual real votes. Can anyone comment on it? Last I saw, the only problem with that would be, Levi, last I saw, those votes stayed. I mean, they are part of the current count. So if it was a glitch, it was a glitch that was never attended to. because those 138,000, whatever it was, are still there. Let's see. Nate the Great says cat girls. Yeah. Nope says you voted Biden, probably, right? Wrong. That would be incorrect. Let's see. Curtis 2024, 1% represent. Yeah, Kenny. I think we're significantly under 1% of the entire population right now, but we're probably closing in on it. Make America goosh again. Curtis the Herdist, not a political one, but still. Riley, I kind of like that, though. It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I worked at a local municipality. Well, not a few years ago, for my entire career. But I worked at a local municipality, and for a while I was a union officer. And one of the election cycles, one of the gang at the shop said, "Hey, I got that." He told, we're all sitting there for lunch. And he said, "We got the perfect slogan: vote for Curtis so he won't hurt us." It was effective. I won the election, so it must have worked. Curtis 2024 Goose the world with me. and well, that brings up something interesting as well. If when people find out, as I'm running here, about the Goosh, how will that specific clip from Tokyo Tribe 2 affect my campaign going forward? Will it increase voter turnout on my behalf, or will it hinder it? Shrek says, "Why is Nevada taking so long? Quit gambling." I know, right? Nevada is just like sitting on their hands. Nevada, I don't know if they're enjoying the attention. When your major city is Las Vegas, I guess you kind of got to be an attention whore to a certain degree. So maybe they're just like, "Hey, everybody, look at us. We're holding things in the balance here, and well, we'll give you a little taste of the votes." No, not yet. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on in Nevada. It must be everybody's partying. The casinos are open now. Ocho says, "Curtis, are you ready for the court battle?" Well, whether we're ready or not, Ocho, we're about to take part in one. We're about to witness one. That's for goddamn sure. Anbu MV says, "Curtis 2024. It's not gay. It's not gay if you say no homo." Jack says, maybe if the Trump campaign focused on solutions like the one you suggest instead of claiming seemingly bogus fraud, they'd be doing better. As is the world might say they're earning this. Yeah. Well, again, Jack, not only his campaign, but Trump himself doesn't approach much of anything. I won't even say with a delicate touch. It doesn't have to be with a delicate touch. It has to be just with a touch of sanity, and that's just not his MO. Right there, and there is reason, and this far predates this election cycle, to be concerned when you are just mass sending out ballots. I just think it's a bad idea. But when they start going with wild conspiracy theories to back it up and stuff, it almost delegitimizes the idea that there might be some illegitimacy. Actually, no, Richard. I'll tell you what. I shouldn't say no. I don't think it'll be as big a deal. Well, let me read this question. Do you think a Trump loss could cause a divide in the Republican Party between the corporate Republicans and the populist Republicans? I think so, but I don't think that's a big issue. I don't think they are as far apart as we think, and I think they will come together easily when Republicans need a block of votes. What I see coming is, and again, I may be wrong, this is just my prediction. What I see coming is the schism in the Democratic side, because now if Biden wins, you've elected a very centrist, traditional Democrat in a party that has been leaning heavily towards the left. Now, the AOC branch of that party, with Democrats being in power, at least at the presidential level, are going to want a big piece of that pie. The centrists do not want them to be even at the table. I think that's where you're going to see some major problems. That there's going to be some real infighting in the Democratic Party coming up. Money in My Mind says Curtis 2024, less kung flu, more waifus. That's quality. Yeah, that's a quality slogan. Yes, because for any of you who haven't been in and talking about the kung flu there, my stance on the whole coronavirus thing. Well, I gave you guys a speech yesterday, what I would be telling the country right now, and I don't understand why politicians haven't just addressed this more sanely on both sides. Man, it sure would be nice to have a president, or in most cases, a governor, who just talks to you in real terms and explains things why we have to do what we have to do. It just, I always thought there was a significant amount of ego in the entertainment business when I was doing stand-up and stuff. But I've never seen any portion of life here in America with more runaway ego than in politics. And it's almost like, at least this is my version of it here. Oh, look, you became Stream Boss. What I'm seeing here in New York and several other states is you have governors now that have run amok with the power that they've granted themselves, because this is an emergency. Now they can circumvent their state legislatures and whatnot to put measures into place, and to me, it seems to corrupt them. This says, Curtis 2024, slightly less senile than the last two. That might be effective. Yeah, because at least you got a point too, Wix, because at least my brain damage to this point anyway only affects memory. It hasn't affected the ability for reason, cognitive ability, and it hasn't made me want to lie habitually or sniff kids. So those are two things that would give me a step up on either one of the two current candidates. Smitnator says, Curtis' opinion on Andrew Yang. I think he was the best in every way and lots of Republican libertarian support. Good guy. I don't agree with everything down the line. I don't think that, what does it call it? The basic, I can't remember the actual terminology for it, but the basic income, I'm trying to remember what exactly called it. But anyway, the $1,000, $1,200 a month for everybody. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. Again, it's just redistribution. People say, no, it's not, because he's got a plan for it. Yeah, it was going to be largely funded by a VAT tax. Why is that redistribution? Because people that have more money are going to be purchasing more of the items that come under that VAT tax. So you'll take that money that they've had to pay and you'll distribute it to those with less. And I'm just not a big fan of redistribution of wealth. I am more a fan of making sure that everybody in the country has an equal opportunity to achieve greatness, whether that be financially or however you want to judge your greatness. I want everybody to have an equal shot at it if they're willing to work for it. I'm not a fan of just taking from one to give to the other. Now, that's not to say that everybody's paying their fair share. I have no issue with rich people. I think rich people, as far as income taxes, do pay a very significant and fair share. Corporations do not. Gimster says, if only you guys had another guy as hard as nails, tough like Teddy Roosevelt as Prez, he'd regularly fight guys in the White House. Yeah. Well, one of the issues with Biden is I think he wants to fight people, but I don't think he's sure that's what he really wants, because even on the campaign trail, the little bit of times that he would be out on the campaign trail, he was constantly getting into it with people and challenging, to fights or push-up contests or whatever. Poppy, that's a quality. Poppy's got a good tagline too. Curtis 2024, if I lose, it's Susan's fault. Blame Susan. Cheyenne says, YouTube's character limit keeps me from ranting against a lot of things said sometimes. Also being an adult, but still. Absolutely. Everything is Susan's fault anyways. Yeah, that would be the only downside to that tagline is, yeah, it's kind of a given. Everything. True. Chrome says this election is a joke. Results still not called. Some won't be potentially for a week. Tons of signs of potential fraud happening. Yeah, and again, that's why I personally, in a nutshell, I've never been a fan of just mass ballots being sent out to the populace. It's just asking for problems. It's bringing another area of potential impropriety into a situation that doesn't need any more controversy. Don't you guys, I mean, do you guys agree with me on that at all? Don't you think that the better thing to do, I mean, it's not like an election sneaks up on us. We know it's coming. So wouldn't it have been better to instruct throughout the nation to make sure that there are excessive numbers of polling places with polling, ballot taking machines available, more so than just a mass mailing? Jake says, if you look at Michigan, there's a county in the upper lower peninsula that still doesn't have votes because it's a heavy Republican county that had more Dem votes, so they decided to do a recount. Oh, I did hear about that. Well, it wasn't just a recount. I think, if we're talking about the same place, Jake, they admitted there was an error there. And it was, which is frightening, it was social media that alerted them to it. I believe we're talking about the same place, yet it's not just a case of a recount. If we're talking about the same place, they actually admitted there was a mistake and they had to recount. This is Curtis 2024 will bang. Okay, Nate, that's a good one. I like that one. And we are gonna too. What I had said. I told you guys that I got to look into campaign buttons, and that's for those of you who are wondering. That's why we're trying to come up with a simple slogan without a lot of words. It's not too wordy, so we can get it on a button. Well, that goes without saying, Chaos Legionnaire. Maybe if you could rely on the poll being there when you arrive. Many states have problems. Like, that's what I mean, and that's what I meant to say was ensuring that type of thing didn't happen. Because at least, again, when you have polling places, the powers that be have a much better control over making sure everything is done properly than when you start adding into the mix. First of all, the government has to have a perfect count on how many ballots should go out and to who. We've already seen that they can't do that. And it's understandable. It's a massive undertaking. So it's understandable that people that have recently died are still getting their ballot sent to them. I don't understand why there are so many double and triple ballots sent out. I know people personally that have that had gotten them. But it just creates, and in an election that was a runaway or that was comfortable, okay, people are still going to grumble about it, but you could go, all right, it wasn't enough to swing anything. This election, you could be talking states with 10 million votes where who knows, the difference might come down to a couple thousand, similar to Florida in 2000. It's just asking for trouble. Coyote Jack, Curtis 2024, bow chicka wow wow. Yeah, I mean, we're just, with the technology level and everything that we have nowadays, it does just seem a little bit ridiculous for us to be going through this. For there to be this many questions about an election, and for an election to be taking this long to be made official. Richard says, do you think Kamala Harris will have a lot of influence over Joe Biden since he isn't very sharp anymore without taking some drugs? I don't know, Richard. What I think is, I'd almost lean towards Biden seemingly having slipped some. I would almost lean towards believing that that might make him more resistant to anyone else's ideas. My concern is that because of that, the Democrats, I don't think, will have his back much at all. If there was any any grumblings within the party that, okay, Joe is honestly slipping. We want him to be seen by medical professionals and make sure that the man isn't in early stage dementia or something like that. I don't think the Democrats would have any problem at all with the 25th Amendment and putting Kamala in. So I don't know so much that I worry about him being influenced, which is still possible, as much as I do him just being out. Georgia is dead close right now, Smithinator. And I'm hoping to. It did figure. We said this yesterday. It did figure, for those of you who have been with us doing all these political streams, I'd said all along, and not just me, it was obvious. The worst thing we could have happen as far as potential unrest in this country would be to have Trump way ahead, or Trump ahead at all, at the end of election night, and then lose the election days later as votes come in. And once again, because it's 2020, of course that had to be exactly what it looks like is going to happen. Andrew says, how do you feel about the Sharpie fiasco? The more votes in states than people registered, and the votes that were found, and for all one candidate. Okay, one at a time on those. The Sharpie fiasco, I don't want to comment on because I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I've heard that Sharpies are fine and the machines will read them. I have heard from these are both fairly reliable sources because I always try and find the most reliable sources. I have heard that that's not true, and Sharpies can end up being miscounted or not counted at all. So that one I don't have too much comment on because I'm not really sure if it's an issue or not. The more votes in states than people registered, it's a little concerning. Not that there's more, because a lot of what you saw there were outdated numbers. That some people were saying, well, there were more votes than people registered in states, and as proof they were using 2018 numbers, and this was also in states that have same-day registration. I will say it's really concerning that any state would be right up against its number of registered voters. That never happens. Well, think about it. I mean, just look around your own friends, family, people you know. We all know people that didn't vote at all. What you're telling me there, I don't think so much it was that there were more votes cast than registered voters potentially. It's that it's right against that ceiling, and that is something that needs to be looked into too, because that's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that a significant portion of people, at least 10% of people, didn't vote. And the votes that were found all for one candidate, we were talking about that earlier. Yes, that was a little concerning to me. That one I would like to hear a much better explanation for than what we've been presented with so far. Now, and again, I'm trying to be fair to everybody. There could be a perfectly legitimate, reasonable explanation for it, but I'd like to hear what it was. When you see 138,000 votes come in and boom, they all went for one candidate, that's concerning. Whichever candidate it was, that's concerning. Sonny Curtis, Brandon Rogers, 2024. Oh man, could not ask for a better running mate there. Yes, absolutely. Well, as we pick up momentum with our candidacy here, we will definitely be reaching out to Brandon. Like Curtis, 2024. Fuck, he's ugly, and admits it. Yeah. Kenny Curtis, 2024. Vin Diesel's dad. Vin might have a problem with that though. Purple Creature. So is Biden president? No, we won't know who's president for some time. Purple Creature. Even if one of these remaining 4 states, if Biden does hold Arizona and Nevada, and any of the remaining 3 states that are red, any one of them go to him, we're still not going to know, because there's going to be legal challenges up and down the line. It's going to be a little bit before we actually know for certain who the next president is going to be. Jake Curtis, 2024. No, it was not dropped on my head as a kid. Yeah, Nevada's behind because of mail-in voting. I get that, Wiser Sauce, but I do understand people getting a little impatient with them, though, because, a big hunk of the states had mail-in voting and they've been able to get through the process reasonably quickly. In Nevada, has just been nothing. And I don't agree with that concept of let's get a bunch of them counted and then just drop them all at once, which I believe Nevada is doing. You should be giving updates as you go. I think the voters have a right to that. They should be updating you with what they're seeing. Jimmy says, since the polls were obviously wrong, yes, they were. What do you think the media will learn moving forward? The media, nothing. In 2022, when we have the midterm elections, they will still put all their eggs in the basket of the pollsters. No, they won't learn from it. I would like to say that's not the case. I would like to say that they would realize that, and it's not even necessarily their fault. People are obviously just not being honest with pollsters in a lot of cases, and also the methodology is almost impossible to master, to actually getting in today's current society, to master getting a real number. There's too many variables. But will that will only stop the media if a specific media outlet, if it's favoring their candidate. If it's against their candidate, then they'll say, well, you can't believe polls. If it's favoring their candidate, they're going to say, okay, now the polls are out, and here's what they're saying. So it all, again, because mainstream media sources, major media sources, not the smaller guys. There's a lot of good, reputable journalists still out there, but the major media sources have all taken sides, and they're apparently proud of it because the way they cover things, they take great pride in it. It's the No Good says, what do you feel about a federal law about corporations at a certain size have to give their employees health care, paid holidays, sick leave, and paternal leave, also with the backing of unions so you can fight for better conditions? Okay, let's get it. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a no good because I did title it this way. That is very, very close to my take on how we start going about fixing the healthcare system. Hi, Axis. I'm glad you brought that up. My take is not specifically making a law where you have to provide things at a certain level. Instead, what I would like to see done is go in and it'd have to be taken, item by item. But a big part of these tax breaks that have been given to these corporations, I would like to see them rolled back first. First thing to do is we take them back. There are not going to be any corporations that are paying nothing in taxes unless they legitimately, and this certainly doesn't cover Amazon, unless they are legitimately a corporation that did not make any profit in a given year. Hold on, let me check the super chat and I'll go right back to what I'm saying. Christian says, Michigan judge threw out Trump lawsuit, no reason. There's going to be plenty more, Christian. That's just the tip of the iceberg. They can file lawsuits individually every time they see that there's anything that they deem is a little bit fishy. So that's, again, you know that Trump is going to lose most of them. They're just looking to hit that home run in one of them. But yeah, there'll be plenty more coming, Christian. Plenty more. Okay, so I would say you roll back all those tax breaks. And now you set up a system for employers. And you can do it by size of employer. And you don't even have to really. It would still work out well. You set up 3 levels of health insurance. You're going to have a gold, a silver, and a bronze. All employers over a certain amount of employees will be required to have one of the 3. Your tax breaks that you get will be reliant on which level you come in at. Do you want the government to say, okay, we're going to allow you this break, we're going to allow you that break, we're going to help you do business in America as long as you help Americans who are working for you? So if you want to give that gold level health care, you can get all those tax breaks back. You can go back to enjoying all the benefits that you've had. Again, to be honest, that you've had way too much given to you in the way of gratuities as far as tax breaks. If you settle with a tax plan that's good, not top shelf, you get the silver tax plan and you get lesser tax, or you get the silver plan designation, you get less tax breaks. And then beyond that, what we do is, rather than Medicare for all, and in fairness, Biden has something very similar to this in his plan, and I'm a big proponent of it. You allow people very reasonable buy-in rates into subsidized healthcare, government subsidized healthcare. My big thing with healthcare is the
Oh,
government should be going out of their
yeah.
way to make it available and affordable to everyone. I don't worry about people that don't want to do anything for themselves. If you are someone who's out there, and I believe, I hope I'm right, this is a very small part of the population, but if you simply don't want to work and you don't want to contribute, then I don't think the government has any responsibility to make you a priority in taking care of you. But when you got that single parent, or even not a single parent, a two-parent home where both are working their asses off trying to make ends meet, and they just, they're unskilled in the labor market, they're having a difficult time doing it, then that's where government comes in to help. And here's the next question I'll pose to you guys. This is why I think there's a big divide when there doesn't have to be. The left will tell you that the Republican side, the right side, is all a bunch of unfeeling, uncaring assholes who don't care about poor people. And the right will tell you that the left just wants to give freebies out to everybody, regardless whether they're in the country legally, whether they want to contribute, whatever. The fact of the matter is, I think if you came up with a plan to help subsidize healthcare so everybody can afford it, and that plan was distinctly and expressly designed to help people who are out there with jobs trying to help themselves, I say you would have a huge, huge percentage of Americans would support paying something extra in taxes to try and help that out, to try and get that system in place. I think it's when you go that extra step and say, well, we just want to make it available for everybody. So if you don't want to contribute, if you just want to sit on your porch all day and you're young and able-bodied and can work, but you're just like, fuck it, I just want somebody to give me shit, then you're not going to be a part of that program. You will get the bare minimum, because we don't want people dying on the streets, that you need to survive, and that's it. But that's what you should expect if you're putting less than the bare minimum in. I think people would not, in large, have an issue with paying something extra, and it wouldn't be nearly all that significant, in taxes to help out people who are trying to help themselves. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Gimster says, found this on Twitter. If you complain about not being able to breathe while wearing a mask, you're openly admitting furries are stronger than you. That's actually not a bad point, Gimster. I kind of like that. That's pretty good. I like that. So, do you guys agree with that? I mean, I know you guys know how I feel about giving any extra of my paycheck to the government and let them redistribute it. However, when it's specifically designated, when that money by the law that is passed is distributed back to people who are just working and trying to get ahead, I got no problem with paying extra taxes at all. That's how government's supposed to work. They're supposed to help us out. They don't have to be nanny, but they can help us out when we need it. Julia says, I bet you wouldn't have said that if Trump would have won. I'm assuming you're not talking to me. I don't know anything I've said that I wouldn't have said if Trump would have won. I don't know. I don't know if you're talking to someone else here or me. You're going to have to be more specific, though. You guys got to remember the chat goes by fast. If you want to comment on something I said and it's that what you say is that generic, you got to be more specific. Let's see. You're spinning fact checks, Kyler says. Let me see. Chrome says, disagree. I think a decent percent of people would be against it because they wouldn't trust the government to keep its budget or not steal from it. Well, that would be part of the legislation, Chrome. And people would have every reason, Social Security, to be suspicious of the government not stealing from it. Because let's face it, the only reason we're in a crisis with Social Security is because government has stolen from those funds for years, both sides. Everybody that has a pet project, or not even necessarily a pet project, but, and this is what really disgusts me, they are backed by a certain group that needs certain favors. Oh, well, yep, Social Security's got a ton of money. Let's dip in that. Until now you got all the boomer generation, which is a lot of people, coming into retirement age, and now the government goes, well, what are we going to do? There's not enough money there. No shit, you jackwagons. There should be fucking plenty of money there. You fucked it up. So yes, it would have to be ironclad, Chrome. It would have to be written as ironclad, so that, and you can do that in legislation, to where that money, that specific tax that is taken out of your paycheck every week, however you want to do that tax, or if it's a VAT tax or whatever, any funds that come from that specific source can be only used for this purpose. We need way more of that in our legislations because there's way too much going on of exactly what you're talking about. Jack says, so many sore losers claiming everything they don't like is cis and clinging to every and any reason claim fraud or conspiracy like a rigged election. Yeah, as I said, I haven't seen anything that to me would prove fraud. I do think anything reasonable should be investigated, no matter which side it's on. The only one that stands out to me right now is that one vote dump, that 138,000. I would like that explained to me better than it has been. That's suspicious. Now, again, that's not to say that there isn't an explanation for it. I would just like to know what it is. That's really odd. I mean, just 138,000 votes to 138,000 votes all to one candidate in a dump. Even if it is legit, that was a stupid thing to do just because of the optics of it. Cheap jump scare, but spooky, says. Thoughts on Trump voters, I'm sorry guys, I'm really having trouble spitting them out today, chanting stop the count in Michigan and Pennsylvania, but saying every vote must be counted in Arizona and Nevada. Well, that's partisanship. We know that, cheap jump scare. I mean, the only thing I can say on their behalf is, if you're saying stop the count only in areas where they're counting the mail-in ballots, then I almost get that because that's what they're saying. I'm not saying I agree with it, but then what you're saying is you don't trust that the mail-in ballots are being handled fairly. I know that's what's going on in Pennsylvania. They feel like they're just not being handled fairly. I don't think you should be putting cardboard up on the windows when people are trying to look in and watch the ballots be counted. I don't think that was a particularly good idea. But if you're only saying in those states and you're not saying in the states that are actually still trying to count day of election ballots outside of mail-in, then I would get it. But that's the only way. Otherwise, it's partisanship. Sure, of course it is. Absolutely. Andrew says, I have zero problem voluntarily donating some of my money to help fund healthcare for workers, but not for dirtbags who just don't want to work. And see, I think what Andrew's saying is, and this is what nobody addresses in politics, I think that's a majority feel. If you aren't disabled, then you should be working, in my opinion. Yes. And the thing of it is, I do know that like the social services and everything, they are connected now in most states, I know they are in New York, with the job placement services in that state. So we also need to have a system too where, okay, if you're going to hook somebody up with a job at fast food, which isn't certainly not a high paying job, where they keep their benefits. I'm all for that. You can keep your benefits. Just get out there and contribute too. I think everybody, if anybody is willing to go out there and work at least 40 hours a week and put in the grind like the rest of us, they should not be left behind. That doesn't mean they have to have top end everything. That's what you work for in life. That's what you get a second job for. I had second jobs my whole life. But I think everybody should have they should be able to afford decent food on their table. They should be able to afford to have a vehicle and maintain a vehicle. They should obviously be able to afford decent housing. And so that's where I think government assistance, and by and large, a community of people, which is the entire nation, I think in large part would be willing to say, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's going to be an extra $2 a week out of my paycheck. I think most people say, yeah, you're going to have $2 out of my paycheck if it's to make sure that people that are working and trying to get ahead can do so. 18 says, I think healthcare should be a basic human right. I disagree. Universal healthcare works relatively well where I live, France, and in other countries. I think America should join the club. Okay, here's some issues with that. You're saying it's a basic human right to somebody else's services. So what you just said right there is healthcare is a basic human right. So this doctor that went to school and studied for all those years, did all the things he needed to do. Now, if it's a basic human right, that doesn't guarantee him any type of monetary compensation whatsoever. You're just saying everybody should just be able to walk in and get it. Well, And if that's not what you're saying, then somebody's got to pay for it. The difference is you can name country after country after country that has a system like that they say, and it depends on who you talk to, how well it's working or is not working. They all pay vastly greater amounts of tax than do we. I am more on the camp of let us keep our money, as much of it as possible, in our pockets, and give us a fair marketplace, a reasonable marketplace. So instead of giving the government the money to then redistribute back to us, we can go out and make our own purchases ourselves, and we can go buy it directly. Whenever you start involving the government as the middleman in that operation, to me, that's when things fall to shit. And you'll be much more careful with your own money than the government is with your money. And this is what they found in America. Most notably, when California tried to go to single payer a few years ago, they had everything put in place to do it. And then they got the price tag. And they realized how high they would have to raise taxes on people, and they had to scrap it. They had no choice. And people wouldn't have paid it. I mean, you'd had violence in the streets. People wouldn't have been able to live. They wouldn't have been able to pay their rent and buy food. Their taxes would have gone up so much.
Oh, yeah.
Zombie Wolf says, I broke my back 12 years ago and was on SSI. I went back to school and I'm a drug counselor. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, Zombie Wolf. Now, again, you break your back. I can't imagine. I'm sure it happens, but I can't imagine anybody having an issue with saying, hey, I don't want my taxes go to help that guy out. That's what those programs are supposed to be there for. They're for people that have been hurt. They're for people that are disabled. Even if it's just down on your luck and somebody legitimately, which in today's current market isn't happening, but there have been times where people legitimately couldn't find jobs. They want to work. They can't get work. I don't think anybody has problems paying taxes for that. It's when you extend it to, even though it's not a huge part of our society, it's a bigger part of our society, I believe, than it ever has been in the past, to a specific group of people who's saying, fuck that. I should just, people should pay my way because I exist. I don't want to work. I want to hang out with my friends all day, or I want to drink all day. I can't be bothered with working. Just pay up. That's where people have an issue. Let's see. It's a no good. It says, let's take McDonald's, the second biggest employer in the world, which has its headquarters in the U.S. Managers pay the U.S. workers some of the lowest wages in the Western world. It's the U.S. system that allows that. What's your point? You're gonna have to come to a point with that. Yes, low skilled positions pay less than skilled positions. That's basically what you're saying. You can walk into McDonald's with no skill, no discernible skills, no work history whatsoever, and get a job. And you think that should pay the same thing as somebody, let's just say a truck driver, who's had to take courses and put in a lot of time and effort and has a lot of responsibility on his hand, handling millions of dollars of someone else's freight down the road. You think those pays should be equitable? Because trust me, if you say that this completely unskilled worker should be getting whatever, fill in the blank, $20 an hour, that means that person who is a skilled worker needs to be getting 30 to keep everything fair and to keep everything reasonable. And what that means is you just destroyed the economy. You've just blown it up. Now you'll go out and a gallon of milk is going to cost you $7.50. At no time does any one action within the economy work in a vacuum. If you're going to substantially raise wages, you are going to have a dramatic fallout within the economy. So again, I'm not sure what you're saying. Yes, they pay very low wages at McDonald's for very unskilled labor. I don't know why that would be surprising. Introducing universal health care to the U.S. is like trying to take away their guns. Not happening. Close, Itsunagi. Not quite the same because, again, what I'm trying to get to and what it's Curtis 2024, my plan would be make healthcare available to everyone. Not dismantle this system entirely, which, mind you, works for, they estimate, 120 to 150 million of us, employer-based healthcare. Mine is fantastic. I'm very fortunate. But it's not just fortunate. I worked at that job all those years because I wanted those benefits. I could have made more money elsewhere, but I wanted those benefits. There is a lot of quality healthcare through the workplace in America. You would never know that if just by consuming the mainstream media sites, but it's true. So when you say universal healthcare, to have healthcare, quality healthcare, universally available, I don't think is that big a step. Yes, taking away their guns is not going to happen. I'm a big supporter. I'm a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. I don't think guns should be taken away. And you're right, but though that is not happening. I don't think there's not a politician dumb enough here to legitimately suggest just taking away guns, because obviously that would immediately devolve into mass violence. There's no question about it. But I'm not a supporter of that. Again, I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment anyway. But I think you can get health care available to everyone with fairly reasonable steps. Julia says, why would Trump say that the virus was a hoax? It costed 100,000 lives. He's to blame, not China. Oh, no. Biden would have shut down the country. Any president in the right mind would have. No, I completely disagree with that on a lot. He didn't call it a hoax. He did refer to it as a hoax. What the Democrats' reaction to it was a hoax. What the Democrats were saying was a hoax. But that neither here nor there. He's to blame, not China. I'm sorry, Julius. That's fucking stupid. So the whole rest of the world, you've got all of Europe now in the throes of a second wave, having to shut down again. And you've got places all over the world. You got California, who is being hit and just being pounded and has been for the last couple months, and they were doing all the right things legislatively. So to say that, and again, this isn't to defend Trump. This is just to defend a little bit of sanity here. This virus has been all over the world, just a destructive force, and has been propagating itself endlessly despite any best efforts. So to say, and I like that when you go online and say, well, Trump is responsible for 250,000 deaths in America, or whatever the number is we're up to. Well, who's responsible for all those deaths in the rest of the world then? And are you saying that if we had voted for Hillary instead, there wouldn't be a single death to COVID? I mean, it's stupid. Did he do everything right? Absolutely not. Are there things he could have done better? You better believe it. That goes at every level. I mean, our governor here fucked up really bad with their response to it. But to say that Trump is responsible for all the COVID deaths in America is just insanity. And Biden would not have shut down the country right away. When Trump initially wanted to shut down travel from China, Biden was against it. He's on record as being against it. And you shutting down the entire country, I don't think it's going to have the positive effect that you think it's going to. As soon as we started to learn exactly where we are with this virus, I think right now you can have this country functioning, not at 100%, but functioning if everything was handled properly at every level and people would do what they're supposed to do to try and keep transmission as low as possible. But we're already seeing numbers showing that hardcore shutdowns are not stopping the virus. They absolutely might be keeping the number of infections down some, but it's not going to stop it. Lauren says, I legit slapped someone today because while shopping with my nephew Leo with Down syndrome, a woman came over with her nose-picking brat and demanded he get up to let her brat have a turn. Yeah, we talked about this before as a parent with several disabled children and having provided care for disabled people, for many years in our home. We've seen things like that, and that would have gotten ugly for me. Yeah, I completely understand, Lauren, and unfortunately we've experienced it. We've seen it. Lachlan says, what do you think about us in the UK back in lockdown? Yeah, I know that this is on a bit of a tangent. No, not at all. It's perfectly reasonable conversation to have. Yeah, I see that. I see that what I've seen so far of the rules for the lockdown in the UK, it doesn't seem to be a total lockdown. I think it sucks. Nothing is ever going to work better than just which we'll never get to this, don't get me wrong. If you had a whole society of people and everyone in that society completely understood the virus, how it transmits, and what you can do to keep those transmissions as low as possible, and everyone acted on that, any more shutdowns would not only be unnecessary, they would be fruitless. There would be no reason for them, because there's no more you can do than that and still allow your society to function. It's just unfortunate that we can't get everybody on board to do the right things. So basically what I'm saying is, yes, it sucks to have to be on shutdown again. I completely understand. I'm not for that nationwide shutdowns to any large degree. I am for nationwide education. Okay, it's a no good says what I meant. There was a McDonald's worker in the U.S. makes almost twice as less in, for example, in the EU. One of the reasons for that is collective bargaining. Oh, I'm not against collective bargaining. But the thing of it is, you can't compare apples to oranges. It's no good because you're talking about two entirely different economies. It's like comparing. I'll give you the perfect example. I live in upstate New York, west of Albany, in I'm right on the border of two counties, and they are two of the most depressed economically depressed counties in the nation. They're among the worst. 3 hours south of us is New York City. Now, up here, if you pay somebody at McDonald's, and I think they're starting now, I think they're getting them at around $11 and $12 an hour up here. That's not going to let you live like a king. You're probably still going to be living with your parents. You're going to need a roommate, something like that. But it's a reasonable amount of money to keep you functioning until you can move up the ladder. If you were to pay somebody that down in New York City, they're a street person. The cost of living up here, you can get, where I live, you can get a decent 3-bedroom apartment flat. You can still get them for like $800 a month. 800, yeah, right around 800. A 3-bedroom, that's not even talking about a 3-bedroom. Like if you're living down in Manhattan, a 1-bedroom flat is going to cost you at least $3,000, $3,500 a month. So in other words, that pay rate, what I'm saying is to compare our pay rate here to a random EU pay rate, it's just apples and oranges. You really can't make that comparison. As far as collective bargaining, I have no issue with that. That is what would work most effectively, is if those employees could get like-minded, work together. But again, you're talking with completely unskilled workers, typically young workers, who are not going to put that much effort into it. You know, if people stopped working for McDonald's until they brought the money up, McDonald's would have to bring the money up, or, and this is what you worry about, or automate. That would be their other out. But I don't have any problem with workforces getting together to get themselves a more money or a better deal. And trust me, I worked in unions my whole life. They have a solid purpose, but there's good and bad things that come along with the union. Found this on Twitter. What's an orgasm? Gimster says, when you fold paper to look like birds and stuff. That's oregano, stupid. Make yourself a little crane out of paper and give it to your significant other. I made you an orgasm. You said I never give them to you. I just gave you one. Or just sprinkle oregano on them, whichever. Mark says, I just don't get how people are making wearing a mask this big of an issue. I'm with you there. Although anti-maskers are present here in Europe too, it seems to be way more prevalent in the U.S. Yes. Part of that is absolutely on Trump and poor messaging, mainly from Trump. And I gave the whole spiel as President Curtis, what I would be telling the country right now. And to capsulize, it's just basically this, is just explain to people, I don't like wearing a mask either. It sucks. I certainly didn't like playing baseball in an over 55 league and having to have a mask on while my fat ass is trying to run the bases. But the idea of masks has a solid basis in fact that it can help to slow the spread of this virus. And I won't do it again here. You guys all know why. We all know why now. You know, it helps to prevent droplets from being expelled into the air, which is how the virus propagates. So yes, it's inconvenient, but us asking you to do it is not government overreach. I am the biggest anti-government overreach person you'll ever see. You guys know that. We talk about it all the time. That's not overreach. That's just trying to do the best we can as a whole community of people in America to try and beat this virus. So yes, it sucks, but we're not trampling on your rights. You're not going to be told you have to wear a mask for the rest of your life. We're not trying to get into your daily routine. You don't want to wear a mask inside your own house? Obviously, don't wear the mask. But if you're out and about among other people and you're not somewhere where you do have a decent amount of distance between you and anyone else, it's not asking that much to do it. I don't understand it either. I don't know. I don't understand at all. Chrome says part of it's because the WHO, the World Health Organization, and other groups early on said masks aren't effective. That hurt too, which they probably did to give themselves time to gather enough masks. Yeah, that messaging, I agree, Chrome. That didn't help even a little. That hurt things somewhat too. And I mean, to their defense, they didn't really understand fully or even partially how exactly the virus was being spread. I mean, back then, you were going to the store and people were getting home and scrubbing every bag they touched, scrubbing every packaging they touched. Well, now we realize that it's very, very, very unlikely, and only in the most insignificant number of situations can the virus go from person to object to person. But we didn't know that at the time. Sajil says, Curtis, if you don't bring the red terror, we ain't voting for you. Also, you better make prostitution federally legal and bring in French and Eastern European women. Create more jobs, Sajil, I've always been a supporter, and not for any pervy reasons. Trust me, even though I don't, I don't claim to not be a perv. But I've always said prostitution should be legalized. It works fine in Nevada, and simply because it cleans it all up. It makes it safer for the women, makes it safer for their patrons, and everybody's paying taxes. I don't understand that morality argument there. Well, it's immoral. It's still going to go on. Saying it's immoral and burying your head in the sand doesn't make it go away. You don't like the morality of it, that's fine. Don't participate. Don't go see your local hooker then. But I think it's a much better idea to legalize it. Let's see. Curtis 2024, I am down. Thank you, LR. Like I said, we'll be making buttons and stuff soon, but this is the only time, you guys know I don't generally ask you guys that. I just want people here because they found their way here and they enjoy it. Anybody you can direct to these streams, when we have these political streams, by all means do so. I will be setting up a website and everything, and I'll keep you guys posted on all that. Taylor says, if the government was more forthcoming about information in the first place, maybe the backlash of wearing the mask would not have been so bad. I agree with that, Taylor. Yes, I do agree with that. I think the biggest failing the Trump administration had with COVID was the messaging. Yes. I mean, I get annoyed because I like to have that conversation, but I get annoyed with people that don't want to have an intelligent conversation about it and want to have the orange man bad conversation, which usually starts off with Trump is responsible for 230,000 American deaths. Well, don't be fucking stupid. Of course he's not responsible for all the deaths. Now, if you want to have a conversation about the things he didn't do well, we can certainly have that. I mean, we saw it firsthand with our governor here. And what I don't understand is so many people think that Governor Cuomo did a good job with COVID, and yet whether he won't admit it. My wife, was working in the industry of senior living providing senior living. She was working in an old folks home, basically, and she had been for some time. That Nimrod not only sent existing COVID cases into senior centers, into senior homes, senior living centers, he sent some from New York up here to us in upstate where we weren't having any outbreaks. The only bad outbreak in our immediate area that we had in a senior living center was because freaking Cuomo sent some from New York City that had COVID up to us. So yes, I have no use for him. None. Troll says, I think a lot of Americans have forgotten what communism is and why their parents fought against it. If they think having to wear masks in convenience stores is an early sign of communism, well, you're goddamn right there. Well, I mean, the idea of masks as governmental overreach is so stupid. And especially because, and I've railed against this for years, I've seen two forms of government overreach that nobody even resists. It's seatbelts and helmets for motorcycle riders. Now, I've never been a motorcycle rider, but I don't like government making any legislation unless if the only person that can be affected by the lack of that legislation is yourself. So why are you telling people they have to wear helmets? Because, well, if they have an accident, you might kill yourself. Okay, that's your risk to take. Why are you telling people they have to wear seatbelts? Now, if you want to make rules for kids, that's fine. Because, again, we know parents aren't always the best and brightest. So if you're saying a kid in the back seat has to be in a car seat, that's fine. But when you're talking about functioning adults, you have to wear a seatbelt because in an accident, you smash your head against windshield, you're going to die. Okay, so I know that, but if I want to take that risk, why can't I? That's government overreach. Saying we need you to wear a mask to try and help stem the propagation of a virus that's ravaging through the country is not an overreach. It's just trying to battle back against something that we've been subjected to. Yeah, you're 100% right, Troll. I mean, to even try and equate that as some sort of step in the direction of communism is absolutely asinine. Gimster says, by the way, I am too late to join the trend of bathing in hand sanitizer and building toilet paper forts. I was hoping to be the best at those things. Oh, am I too late to join it? No, jump in. Bathe in some hand sanitizer. Listen, bathing in some hand sanitizer can be sexy too. I'm just putting it out there. I was hoping to be the best at those things. I like that. Toilet paper forts. Build one now because they're saying they're afraid. I don't know if this will happen, but there are some people that are afraid that we might get another run of stupidity buying again. Lachlan says, a video came out of a UK woman, trained nurse also, took her mom out of a care home because of how terrible she looked. The care home called the police, who took the woman back by force and arrested the daughter. Ooh. Yeah, that would be a problem. I know what you're saying, why they're doing it, because they're trying to stop the spread and stuff, but oh yeah. That's a little bit of a problem with an overreach there. It's one yeah, that would make me real uneasy.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean. Hey, good to see you again, my friend. I'm doing good. I hope you are too. Nickett says, if you don't wear a seatbelt and get into a high-speed accident, you can easily become a projectile and hurt someone else. I agree on your helmet rule take. No, I again, so Nickett, but what you're saying there, the odds of that are infinitesimal. So basically what you're saying is you're okay with government making legislation based on anything that has an infinitesimal odd of being harmful to someone else. Then you got to outlaw pretty much everything. You gotta start outlawing a lot of shit. Because there's infinitesimal risk in everything we do in life. If there's not a significant risk of some percentage, because again, I won't have the numbers offhand, but I'll guarantee you, if you can find numbers on how many times in an automobile accident where the people in vehicle A were not wearing a seatbelt, that they shot through the windshield and hurt somebody or hurt anybody else, it's going to be a really, really small number. I don't believe in legislation for freak statistics, something happening that's a freak item. By that same, if you're going to talk freak statistics, by that same logic, you said you do agree with the motorcycle helmet law. Couldn't you turn around and say, yeah, but if that person on the motorcycle comes flying off and he hits me with his head, isn't he going to do more damage to me if he's got a helmet on? I mean, you can't talk things that are, say, statistically insignificant. Lude says, the parent smashes their head, dies, the kid in the back lives. Now let's take care of the kid. A random relative, the government. I'm still of the opinion people need to protect for themselves. No, I disagree with you again, Lude. Again, you're talking an infinitesimal number, a statistic that would bear out for just a tiny little portion of cases. It's not significant enough to be a rule of law.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What I really don't like, I'm still of the opinion people need to be protected from themselves. So basically, Lude, you just said, hey, you know what? Government should tell us what we should do. It doesn't have to have any real numbers behind it. It doesn't have to be any significant number of cases. If the government feels like that's dangerous, they should make a law against it. No, could not agree with you less. Because when you make broad statements like that, people need to be protected from themselves. You're unlocking the gates of government overreach. Because if one thing we know about government, they like to be your nanny. They like to make the rules. M says, I missed this conversation entirely because I was focusing on typing. What is this about? It's about a little bit of everything today, Em. We've been all over. We did talk about healthcare. We're talking about the election and the results and the carnage that's going on there. Now talking about government overreach. Jack Queen. Nearly 15,000 lives saved in 2017, according to NHTSA. You got to be way more specific. Are you talking about lives saved by seatbelts? If so, that really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. I never denied that a seatbelt could save your life. I would contest that. I would obviously contest that number because there's no way. Again, you're talking about a statistic that's absolutely 100% unable to be verified. Because if you didn't die, you cannot guarantee that someone would have if X, Y, or Z happened. That's a garbage statistic. It truly is. But I'm not denying that seatbelts could save lives. If you're saying 15,000 people shot through a windshield and hurt somebody else, then yes, I would have an issue with that being incorrect, and that's what we're talking about. The issue isn't does it save lives. The issue is does the government have a right to tell you that you have to protect your life in that way? So I assume that's what you're talking about. But again, that number has absolutely nothing to do with what I was saying at all. Chrome says our government loves to trample on people's rights. One of our politicians in Scotland talked about making fear each other at the dinner table and how snitching on mean words is good. Yeah, well, you guys know about me and First Amendment. The whole limiting speech in any way, shape, or form. That's one that, as I've said, I'm not the type generally to get motivated to be out in the streets. That would get me out in the streets. Okay, if somebody's outside of the obvious, again, the things we always talk about, I don't think you should be allowed to call for violence on others. I don't think you should be able to, scream fire when there is none in the crowded movie theater. But if your speech is demeaning to someone else, I think you're better off to know how that person feels so you know where to keep that person within the perspective of everything else. But I don't think they shouldn't be allowed to speak just because some of what they say is obnoxious. Let's see. Cheap Jump Scare says, accidents are also prevented by seatbelts. Hard braking causes the seatbelt to lock and prevent people from going forth and causing a potential crash. Hard braking causes the seatbelt to lock, yes it can, and prevent people from going forth and causing a potential crash. I guess statistically that may happen. I'm trying to put yourself in that situation. I know the seatbelt locks. Okay, so now you're going to brake hard, and now your body's been held back. So you're saying because of that, your foot's going to stay on the brake because that's the only way it would help. I would disagree. that. And again, you're not going to get a statistic on that because there's no way to know. When people have survived it, you can't just say, "Oh, you would have been dead otherwise," because you don't know. But trying to look at it from a physics perspective, and those physics being combined with people's natural reactions, you slam on the brakes, that seatbelt locks. I say your foot comes off the brake anyway. So what difference does it make if you went forward or back? I'm not sure what you're getting at. But again, you will not have. It's impossible to have a real statistical number there because you're going into the unknown. Well, would somebody have survived this? Well, we're going to say yes because it will encourage people to buckle up. And again, you guys are trying to convince me that seatbelts can save lives. If you're talking about the driver, the people in that car, of course it can. I still don't think the government has the right to force you to save your own life. I think it's best for the government to do all they can to make potential danger known, but I don't think they have any right. Steve says, I disagree with you, Curtis. Let's throw hands. Oh, I completely agree with no bullying, too. Who was it? I saw that right as I moved. Was it Jonathan? Yes. Well, you guys know that bullies are one of the big shit stains of the world, as far as I'm concerned. Brian says, sorry I missed most of the stream. My job wanted me to be responsible today. Some people just don't get priorities. I know, Brian. I mean, Brian's job is like on his ass about he's got to do his work rather than listen to the ramblings and rantings of a creepy old fat dude. I don't know, Brian. I wish I could talk to some people, in powers of positions of authority and wherever you work. Hawkins says, yeah, the government has no right to force me to get creative with my suicide attempts.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way. If seatbelts were not a law, how many of you would wear them anyway? And be honest. I would most of the time. If I was going like across town to the store, probably, knowing me, I probably wouldn't. Oh, I missed super chat. I'm sorry, Gimster. If you really want to start an internet fight, let's start a waifu argument. Oh, I don't know, Gimster. I don't know if we want that kind of carnage to go on. Hold on. Gimster said I missed the super chat. Let me find it. Nearly 15,000 lives. I saw that from Demonic Jester. I apologize, Jester. Thank you for pointing that out, Gimster. If abortion is murder, then ultrasound is just child porn. Prove me wrong. Aw, dude. What the fuck? Oh, what the hell? That's fucked up. You guys are twisted. I really, really enjoy it. For those who are asking, yes, Biden is very likely, because just running all the different possible scenarios, very likely to get to 270 electoral college votes, and then it would just be, it would be up to the legal battles that take place from there. Do I think Trump can get it overturned? My leaning would be no from what I've seen so far, but yes, the odds are definitely in his favor. Let's see. Better safe than sorry to me, Big Green says. And that's perfectly reasonable. And trust me, I'm not discouraging anybody from using them. As I said, being honest, if it wasn't a law, I would wear it on any significant trip. I would wear it anyway because, again, I don't want to die in a car accident, and I know it can save my life. Would I wear it to go around the block and stuff? Probably not. Again, for no other reason than I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. And I'd be like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going over here. I know me. But no, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say people shouldn't wear a seatbelt. I'm saying I don't believe that it should be legislated that you have to. Razovek, welcome aboard. Lute says, as for the previous point, there's absolutely a huge number of children left parentless due to deaths in car accidents. People are often responsible for more in their own lives is where I'm coming from. Okay, so you're saying that because children are left parentless because of car accidents, you took the seatbelt out of it. Did those parents die with their seatbelt on? Are children only left parentless due to car accidents when the parents aren't wearing a seatbelt? Again, I'm not arguing that seatbelts save lives. It seems to be what you guys are still trying to argue that point with me, and I'm not arguing that at all.
Oh,
what I'm saying is, what are the numbers as far as anybody becoming a projectile and injuring others? As far as their own family, I'm sorry, I still don't think the government should be able to legislate that. I just don't. All you can hurt is yourself. Again, you're opening a Pandora's box. You want government legislating everything that could potentially harm you because, you have your children and everything, and we can't be responsible for your kids. So if there's any infinitesimal percentage of a chance that you could get seriously hurt, government's got to step in here and intervene. No, I don't like opening that box at all.
Yeah.
Gone says, last post. Let's see. Let me find Gon's post and I'll catch up. How do you feel about making jelking illegal? I'm not sure what you were saying there, Gon. How do you feel about making jelking illegal? I've lost friends over this. I don't. I'm assuming it was a misprint. I don't know what jelking is. Go on, hit me again because I don't know what that was. Not bad, says, so I haven't paid much attention, but was there voter fraud or something? Well, there's, and you knew it was coming. There are accusations of voter fraud. Not bad. None has been proven so far. And again, the only thing I've seen so far that I like explained is those 138,000 votes that all came in for Biden at once. Not to say there isn't an explanation, but that's fishy. Outside of that, I haven't seen anything with any real merit. But you're going to see battles on all of it. All of it. Let's see. Sean says, in all honesty, I prefer the fat dude. Yeah, I'm not sure what, I can't figure out, Nick, at what Gone was looking for with that word. Let's see. People's common sense and their own self-preservation should be enough for individuals to wear seatbelts. Right. And that's what I'm saying, Itsunagi. Again, we're going way, way, way off track as far as the point I was making.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sean Paul is stream boss. Absolutely, seatbelts can save your life. There's no question. And absolutely, even if it weren't law, I would wear one. Again, I'm trying to be honest. Anytime I took a significant trip, I would wear a seatbelt. I always, and if there weren't laws for it, I would still make my kids, when they were younger, my grandkids wear them. I would still have car seats for the little ones and everything because I want to keep them safe. And again, I have no problem with government legislating for children. But I just don't like opening that can of worms where government can come in and tell you what you need to do because you might hurt yourself. Because I think that leads down a slippery slope. And I am very, very wary of giving government too much power over our day-to-day lives. I don't think asking people, M says, I don't think asking people to wear a seatbelt in the car, they're not asking, telling, legislating that you're out on the road with other people around is suddenly saying let government control everything in life. That's just my opinion. M, at no point did I say that suddenly saying let government control everything. I'm saying it's opening the door, and obviously that hasn't happened because seatbelt laws have been in place for years. If I'm going to take a stance on something, it's going to be even across the board. I don't like government getting involved in situations where it's all about self-preservation. I don't want them telling me you need to do this so you don't hurt yourself. I just don't think it's a good path to go down. Let's see. Mr. Yolo Dick Swagger says the election will be called either today or tomorrow. Joe will win Pennsylvania with significant. Oh, I don't think it'll be significant numbers. No lawsuit will go anywhere, and his little slut in the SC won't help either. Get over it, right? Oh, now I'm going to let that one go, Dick Swagger. Those aren't the conversations that we have here. If you can't act like a decent human being and not be a dick and get over it, right? Is his little slut in the Supreme Court? Stop being a fucking moron. Now, I was reading that, wanting to, and I think you're right. The election will be called either today or tomorrow. I do think it will be Joe who wins. I don't think he'll win Pennsylvania with a significant numbers, but you decide if you want to stay or not. We're not going to do that kind of stupid shit here. Typically, we don't have much issue with that. Omar says, I don't understand much of these elections since I'm not from America, but I hope whatever you people makes you feel safe happens. Well, that's the big thing, Omar, right now, too, is, again, we did have the perfect storm that we had outlined earlier for potential violence, and I'm hoping that that doesn't be the case. That doesn't turn into the case. Let's see. Cheap Jump Scare says, Trump supporters just seem like those sports fans that always blame the refs for cheating when their team loses when they win and it's fair and square. In fairness to them, I will say that that's both sides. Yes, you're right. They only see what they want to see, but both sides do that. All sides. I shouldn't even say both. All sides do that. You're right. They're all like that. Hold on a second here. I just saw something I wanted to read, and now I missed it. God damn it. Oh, okay. Willie's got this. Jelking, from what I've read, is a temporary penis enlargement technique that involves tearing the dick so it looks girthier as it heals. For real? Oh, so that wasn't a misprint? That was something legit? Whoa. Oh. Oh, so then to go back and answer your question, Gone? No, I'll keep the little one. I'll keep that little nub. Yeah, that doesn't sound worth it to me. In the risk reward thing, nah, I ain't tearing. It's little, but I ain't tearing it up like that. Jack says, "Heads up, the perfect storm is what I call my sex tape where Russians pee on me and a friend." uh, I'm being a dick. Yes, you're being a dick. Referring to a Supreme Court justice as a slut because you don't agree with their political leanings is you being a dick. I'm not the one opposing democracy here. The right is. And now that you can make a case where you can say that they're in opposition of democracy because they're calling things as being suspect when they really aren't. So you can make a case for that. But if you need, again, to go into calling people names and suck it righties and all that horse shit, then go ahead. But you're not going to fucking do it here. Sajil, can we have coochie stamps, please, when you become president? I'd rather eat pussy than cheese and milk. Yes, coochie stamps 100%. Yeah, smoke detector says the same thing, too. I'll keep the little nub. I thought for sure that was a misprint. Yikes, gone. Whew. Genesis Kaiser says, if a person is getting a college and has a heart condition that affects their abilities, should they be given support so they can help themselves in the future in some way? Oh, okay. We covered that though in what we're talking about and I don't think anybody's a problem with that. Listen, I can't say anybody. Obviously, some people would. I think the vast majority of Americans, and we already pay taxes for that, for Medicaid. But I think the vast majority of Americans don't have a problem with, like you say, helping to support somebody who's got a heart condition and can't work, or even if it would just be dangerous for them to work. I don't. That's what I'm saying. I think the conversation gets a lot easier when it gets specific, because people are generally decent human beings, and if they see somebody else is just trying to get ahead or just trying to survive, I don't think they mind pitching in a couple bucks to help out. It's when you start talking about, I know if for me it is too, when you start talking about, well, if someone just doesn't want to be a part of the system at all, doesn't want to help themselves at all, we should do everything we can to help them. No, if you don't want to do anything, you should have the bare minimum to get by, because that's what doing nothing should reward you. But yes, I don't think anybody has issue with people that, again, are injured, sick, whatever the case may be, and just can't work. I can't imagine people being quite that heartless. Gimster says, time for you to start another heated argument. I heard that Mr. Goddammit Curtis loves dub over sub and considers sub trash. Let the hell start now. Well, that one won't go, Gimster, though, because, we got too many of the gooshers here, and they know what I do with sub versus dub is I do sub by default. I go to dub when I can research an anime and find out that there is a significant reason that the dub was better. And we've had that on, again, several occasions, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Yu Yu Hakusho, things like that. But I honestly don't have a preference. I just go to sub by default if there's no indicators that the dub is better, because I just like the original language. But sure, we could still get a good go round going over it. And Big Green, I appreciate it. For Big Green, I know most of the gang here and most of our mods enjoy some good political conversation. Big Green is one who doesn't really like politics. So Big Green, I appreciate the fact that you're in here helping us out with moderation and everything, when I know it's days that it's not going to be conversation that's necessarily the type of thing you enjoy. But for you and everybody else, tomorrow's Free for All Friday, and we know what that means. Oh boy. What are your thoughts on Donzo as president of the U.S.? Not Donzo. Fuck Donzo. I'm not a Donzo fan. I gotta be honest with you. I'd vote for Madara before I'd vote for Donzo. Andrea says I am horny. Oh my. That's good to know. Oh, absolutely, Jack. And that's what I hope everybody gets from here. I appreciate you saying that, because I hope everybody gets that. Jack says, I disagree completely about seatbelts and bike helmets with Curtis, but the reason I like this channel is because you can disagree, then laugh about being peed on. Disagreement is beneficial. It's 100% beneficial. And outside of, like I outlined earlier with a commenter just saying nasty things towards people in general, I like disagreement. Again, it's what fun is life if everybody, I know, understand that there's a lot of us here that are like-minded on a lot of things. That's just the nature of socialization. But as you see, there are a lot of things that we disagree on. I don't lose any respect for anybody because they have a difference of opinion with me by any way, shape, or form. Jack and I see this differently. Obviously, M sees it differently than I do too. And these are people who I've come to know and respect here deeply. Doesn't change any of that. We just happen to disagree on something. That's all. It's unfortunate that there isn't more discourse specifically on political things that people can see that. It's a disagreement. It's not anything personal. It's just a simple disagreement. M says, do you need a VP for 2024? I volunteer as a tribute. Are you really sure you want to, though? M, I mean, not that I wouldn't be glad to have you. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just this is going to be a really, really weird campaign. But you knew that going in, though. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with a good VP. I think M would be a quality VP.
Oh,
Amendment says, how will you respond to people saying that your jokes about anime titties make you a sexist? You know they will show up. Oh, absolutely. They actually will. And you go back into my history. You guys know my history as well as anybody. That's why the channel said not for the easily offended for all its early years. Not for the easily offended. What I'm going to say to them is I find anime titties to be funny, and something I enjoy. And if you don't like it, don't vote for me. If that's the issue that puts you off me, then you guys want to hear how sensitive people are. Hold on, I gotta get one. The comment was so silly I didn't even respond to it. I gotta pull up this comment for you. Hold on a second. Gibster says, I heard that you will either vote in Arlong or Shao Tucker's president next time. This is gonna be fun. Oh man. Yeah, there's the two people. The two people of anime whose heads I would most enjoy seeing splattered. Well, fortunately, Shao Tucker's head did get splattered, and I enjoyed seeing that. And I would like to see the same happen to Arlong. Hold on, I got to read you guys a comment. Let me find it here. I'll be away from chat just a second. You want to talk about sensitive? Come on, let me find that. Okay. Let me see. I didn't even. It was so ridiculous. I didn't even bother to respond. It did really make me laugh, though. Oh, good. All these spam posts you get too. I will find it. Hold on, guys. I'm getting rid of some spam posts as I try and find it. Hold on, I'm almost there. Boy, this one slut gets around. She's the icon pick for pretty much every one of these things. Holy shit. All right, get that out of here. Where is it? He didn't get rid of it, did he? Shit. Oh, no. I think he might have. Oh, somebody might have come in and made fun of him on it or something. I think he took it down. Crap. And there's none held for review, so it can't be here. It's gone. Let me look. Hold on a second. Sometimes one of the really bizarre Susanisms is sometimes stuff shows up in chat or in comments on my phone, and that's where I saw it, and it doesn't show up on my PC, which I've never been able to figure that out. I will get to the super chats. Hold on just a second, guys. I really wanted to read this one to you if I could. Okay, let me just get caught up on that. Let me see if I can find it. Damn it. You guys would have laughed at this. I think he might have gotten rid of it. No, he took it down. Okay, basically all it said was, oh man. It was on the live stream yesterday. It said Curtis 2024 because why not another old white guy? And it could have been just joking, but I think he was serious. He said, I got to tell you, I'm so tired of demeaning things being said about white guys that I'm going to have to unsubscribe from the Patreon. I can't look at any more of this. It's like, wow, that's some serious sensitivity. To a point that was hilarious. Would have been a lot funnier if it was still there and I could have read it to you. Laclaris says, good vibe from Denmark. I respect your opinion. Well, thank you, Laclaris. I appreciate that. It's kind of you to say. M says, I apparently disagreed with someone on a social media post today and don't remember it. They were kind enough to try and DM me to yell at me. LOL, if I say that, it was entertaining. Oh, I'm sure, M. That's what I mean. I just don't get that. I mean, I feel I am as close with a lot of you guys here as a person can possibly be with people that you've never met in real life. I consider you to be close friends. And I'm going to jeopardize that or think less of you or less of the friendship because you disagree with me on something, especially something that's superfluous. We're not even talking hardcore stuff here. We're talking about whether or not seatbelts should be legislated or not. I mean, it makes it more interesting. I'm glad. The last thing I would want is you guys unable to just, when you disagree with me, just say so. Feel like, oh, no, if I say anything, if I say anything to counter what Curtis believes, then, I'm not going to be welcome here anymore. That's the last thing in the world I would want. Madman says, okay, so I may be foreign, so I can't VP, but I have been a martial arts student for almost a decade. Can I be in security detail in your chief of memes? Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to need a chief of memes, Madman. Oh, my administration will have quality memes. Quality memes. Yes, if nothing else on the chief of memes, absolutely. Big Green, hey Curtis, you're bald, get mad. That's another thing I always found too, Big Green. I know I'm different than most people on this. People worry about things like fat shaming, and and I understand it really hurts a lot of people's feelings. I can't imagine my feelings ever, they never have been, getting hurt about somebody telling the truth. Like you say, hey, you're bald. Yeah. Hey, you're fat. Hey, Curtis, you're fat. Yeah, I am. I mean, my feelings are going to get hurt. Now, I mean, you can say other things within the context of that I might take offense to if they got mean. But as far as saying that I'm fat, if I didn't want to be fat, I would stop eating all the shit I eat and exercise more. And then it wouldn't be the case. Then I could get mad if I wasn't fat.
Oh, yeah.
Lachlan says, I disagree with you, Curtis. The anime titties aren't that great. Fight me, folks. Now, Lachlan, I just explained how, you guys are important to me and I consider you to be friends. And so if we have a disagreement on something, it doesn't really mean anything. And then you brought up a disagreement where you and I have to fight now. All right, Lachlan, time and place. Come on, we'll sell tickets and everything. Hopefully we'll make a few bucks. It's going to be on pay-per-view. Lachlan went to the one area that I just can't tolerate. We got to go. Jake says, I respect someone more when they tell me their honest opinion, especially when it's opposition to mine, than someone the brown nose. Couldn't agree with you more. Could not possibly agree with you more. Gone to some of your Kia. I promise not to snip the seats. Jason, was you born in the U.S., Curtis? Yeah, upstate New York. Great, not far from where I live now. I lived all throughout my life. I've lived in all different parts of the country, but I'm back to where my original home was. Chrome says, I should have probably included the not for the easily offended part in the intro. If you ever want to add it back in, I could do a new render easy. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, Chrome. I think the pervasive nature of our community here makes that clear. But thank you. I appreciate that. If at some point I think it needs to go back in, it's nice to know we could do it. I appreciate that. Big Green, important announcement. I just blasted out a really nasty fart. I thought I was smelling something in here. I kept looking around for my giant dinosaur dog. God damn it. Wayne says, I don't have a disagreement, but can we fight anyway? Yeah, well, we can have the fight now, and then we'll bank it for an upcoming disagreement. Yes, there. Now Tyler's got the right idea. Curtis, you are skinny and have a full head of hair. Now I'm offended, because that shit ain't true. You could have also said, Curtis, you're a good-looking guy, and all the women throw themselves at you. And then we would have had to fight, because that's so egregiously wrong that you have to throw hands at some point to protect your own honor. Yeah, true, Em. She says, I mean, you'd think it'd be clear, but... Johnny Bravocado says, I do agree with Mr. Dick on the opposing democracy bit. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, Johnny. He was entirely entitled to that opinion, and you could make a strong case for it. I just don't like, obviously, you guys, I don't have to explain to you guys, I don't like people presenting themselves that way, because that's too typical of what goes on in social media all day long. We don't need to see the vitriol and the idiocy and the name calling and all that stupid shit. It's getting dangerously close to treason on the president's side, but calling that woman, forgot her name, a slut. Exactly. It's silly, it's counterproductive, and it's just stupid. I mean, it doesn't matter how much. I can't stand Nancy Pelosi. I don't agree with her on pretty much anything. I don't like her as a person. I don't like her as a legislator. I never have, and you never will hear me calling her a slut, though. Well, unless she does something that shows she's a slut. Now, if word comes out that Nancy Pelosi is banging every other member of Congress, okay, then I could say that, because I would feel that I was adequately qualifying her with the appropriate terminology. But as it stands now, no, I wouldn't call her that, because the fact that I disagree with her politically doesn't make her a slut. Hold on a second, guys. Oh, it's Brax. Let's see what he's saying to us. He just sent a meme. Brax sent a meme, says, what will get released first? Cyberpunk 2077, original release date April 2020, or Nevada vote results, release date unknown? Not bad, Spaz Kid, not bad. And I'm going to go with Cyberpunk. Mad Mint says, I'm 23, and I say, by my age, you have either dealt with your insecurities or they are staying. Yeah? So I can only imagine what your attitude is to those trivial things like appearance. Then again, for now, I'm quite handsome. So yay. See, I've never, and an honest appraisal, I never considered myself an absolute gremlin, but I've never been a good-looking guy. It's like in the wrestling gimmick thing. We had the guys that their gimmick would be that they're good-looking dudes, and the ladies fall all over them. That was never going to be my gimmick. Well, it could have been, but I wouldn't have got booked, ever. Nor should I. Sean says, I'm sending this. Thank you for starting Dragon Ball. Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm having fun doing it. I'm going to try and squeeze in another one. I got a reaction video I'm going to be doing tomorrow for the channel, but I'm gonna try and get in another episode of Dragon Ball as soon as I can. Not only, I mean, because I enjoy sharing it with you guys, but I'm so wrapped up in watching it now too. Excuse me. Scout McFly says, in all reality, it doesn't matter who wins the election. The real losers are the American people. America hasn't been this divided since the Civil War, and it's that's 100% true, Scout. That's 100% true. That's why it's Curtis 2024, because we're going to try and, I don't want to say bridge that gap. We're going to try and stop that from being the predominant feeling that people have. It's just insane, and I don't see anything coming in the near future, regardless of who wins the election, where things are going to get any better. We don't have people. You'll get a lot of lip service about bringing people together, but then the legislative action, and on both sides, the legislative action behind that lip service will not bear that out. Let's see. Trump is truly starting to make me angry, Johnny says. I'm usually indifferent to his horseship, but this crossing line is very dangerous. Well, I think more than the as far as dangerous, the crying about improprieties, that doesn't bother me too much, because the courts will handle that, and I think they'll handle it the way it should be. They're already throwing out the ones that are just ridiculous. The concerning things are like the message he was sending to supporters. I don't like the language he uses. He leaves the very vague language in there of "get out there and defend me" type stuff. And that's a problem. That's more so than, again, is it being a puerile douchebag when you're trying to find something nefarious where there is none? Yes, it absolutely is. But that's Trump MO. But when you're sending out mailings like that, telling people that they need to defend you, that's where we're getting into a problem. Let's see. Curtis Party 2024 to 2400, Jason says. Steamroller says, got banned from a Discord server for agreeing that LGBT plus rights should be protected, that Black lives do matter and equality for all, but that neither Democrats or Republicans care for any of us. And you got banned for that? Wow. Somebody's a little hypersensitive to the point of bizarre. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't think that's that controversial. Ty says, also, don't know if you know, but Nevada was late because Clark County stayed open an hour late because of technical difficulties. Was it, Ty? I think people now they're just frustrated with how long it's taking to count the ballots now that they are in, which I understand. Again, for me, I don't think it much matters at this point. There's a very, very, very tiny chance that Trump wins, as is the Electoral College, because I think one of the 3 states that are currently red now, I think at least one of them will go blue.
Yeah.
So then what happens in Nevada or Arizona doesn't even matter. So I think there's very little chance anyway. But it is frustrating, waiting and waiting and waiting to get just at least the other states. The numbers are trickling in. They're not even at a trickle in Nevada. I think that's why people are upset. Amendment says, look, I'm going to be completely honest. I am bisexual. I would totally let you be my daddy. Nice. I'd give you a solid 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 for reals. Wow. Thanks, Madman. I like that. That made my listen. It doesn't matter to me. I've always said this. It doesn't matter to me that I'm straight. If anybody finds me attractive, that's a huge fucking win, and I will take it proudly every day. Absolutely. Thanks. That's nice of you to say. Coco Large says, 4chan boys are at it again. Oh, no. They took Trump and Biden's votes and grafted against Benford's law and found massive anomalies. Oh, no. And you know what, Coco? What I worry about more than anything else with shit like that going on is everybody's already on edge about all this. And, man, that's just going to feed that shit even more. I'm afraid for where we might be this time next week. I'm just looking something up right now, guys. Let's check. God damn it. Let's see. I just want to see if any of the states had swung. It's been, obviously, since I've been streaming since we checked. Georgia's still at 99%. Trump up 13,000. That's about where it was. And see, that's impossible to say because when you're at 99%, you don't know how many are left out. So that one's impossible to say, but obviously can go either way. North Carolina hasn't moved in ages. It's still Trump by 77,000 with 94% in. Pennsylvania has narrowed. Again, it's down. Pennsylvania's weird. Something's going wrong in Pennsylvania with the numbers report. I don't want to give any more credence. Everybody thinks something's weird, but the numbers are changing, but the percentage reporting isn't going up. So we've been at 88% reporting in Pennsylvania for hours and hours and hours, and literally tens of thousands of votes have come in. How can I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, it's at 101,000 vote Trump lead. I just don't get that. How can you still be at 88% with that many more votes coming in? Well, maybe one of the numbers is like, I don't even want to bring that up because Jesus Christ, all people need to do is get a hold of something else that looks like it might not be working the way it's supposed to. You would think, it's an Augie, surely counting all the remaining votes can't take much longer. You would think, and I think that's why people are getting so frustrated. Steamroller says Pennsylvania is allowing people to vote after election days while they're being sued. Now, again, obviously, if that gets proven to be the case, then we've got a significant problem. That's why I say I'm not worried about Trump's lawsuits. Either side should have the right to file, and they do have the right to file those lawsuits. Hopefully, the courts see things as the courts are supposed to with a fair eye, and they'll take care of business. It's the things like that letter he sent out with telling people to get out there and fight for him. Jason says the 99% is without the mail-in ballots, I think. I don't think so, Jason. I think, this way I understand it, they know how, what they have in for mail-in ballots now. They have numbers in, they just have to be counted. So I think that's everything. Now, again, I could be wrong. That's not something I'm 100% on, but I'm pretty sure that now, we're past election day. I think they have all the numbers in. They just have to, the numbers of ballots, they just have to get the numbers for each individual candidate. Madman says 4chan wants to watch the world burn. Oh, 100%, they have forever. Also, Texas was nearly a 50-50 split. How bad as a Republican do you need to be to nearly lose Texas? Can you imagine blue Texas? Think of the stereotypes. Yeah, really, Madman. Well, see, the thing of this is, and again, in all fairness, I think Trump will lose the presidency. I think it's going to be Biden. But overall, this was a bad night for Democrats. I even thought they had a real legitimate chance to take the Senate. My prediction is, from what I'm seeing, the Senate is going to be 52-48 after I think you'll have 2 runoff elections in Georgia. I don't think Perdue is going to hold at 50% or more, but I think the Republicans win both those runoffs. So I think you're just going to have a net loss of 1 seat for Republicans in the Senate, and they actually gained seats in the House where pretty much everybody, all insiders, political insiders, thought the Republicans would lose a fairly significant number. Overall, Republicans did much better than would be expected. And in fairness, as far as what pollsters thought, what most political insiders thought, Trump did much better than was expected. No, not much of anybody expected the election to be this close. So, I mean, Democrats really, if going forward into 2022 and beyond, really need to do some hard looking at themselves, or I think they're going to be in trouble. Teo says, hey, Curtis, if everything falls apart, what name do you want to have for your hypothetical warrior gang? Oh man.
Yeah.
I love the movie, but everybody's going to take the Warriors. God damn it. Because I would want that. I loved that movie. Before it became, I watched it when it came out in theaters because I'm an old fart. So I love that movie from the start. And now it's so memed that Warriors would have been cool. Now it's got to be Gooshers now. The Goosh Squad or the Gooshers or something along those lines. We're going to incorporate Goosh into it. Just some guy with a lightsaber and some questions says, just for your information, I just discovered a case in favor of pussy pink as your color. I just don't think the white party would go over very well. I agree with you 100%. I think some people, we were talking the other day about in the 2024 election when they're doing, the red versus blue on the map, we're going to be a contender too. So what color should we be? A lot of people said pussy pink because that's the color that we designate the $50 donations here. And I said, that's cool, but it's close to red. And somebody else said, well, what about Sticky Stuff white? Now, Sticky Stuff is as much a mainstream part of this channel as anything else. So I thought, yeah, that's cool. But then, as was just pointed out, maybe the white party isn't a good idea. Yeah. Warrior Gang, the Goosh Spadoosh, Madman says. The Goosh Rangers, Coyote Jack says. I like Goosh Rangers. Warriors come out to play. Oh, I love that movie, Big Green. I first saw it at a drive-in, as a matter of fact. I still remember that. Oh, God, that was such a good movie. 18 Shedin says, do you think Bernie would have fared better than Biden? No, I do not. I think the fact that Republicans overachieved would be the worst harbinger for Bernie. And not only that, as I said, don't get me wrong, Bernie bros, I agree with you 100%. Bernie got screwed in 2016. The Democratic Party has never wanted Bernie as their flag bearer. In fairness to them, why would they? He's not actually a Democrat. So they've worked against him. However, when in the primaries, when it got down to Bernie versus Biden, it was Bernie's to lose. Bernie had the momentum, and Biden annihilated him up and down the line. Bernie got substantially less votes in almost every state from that point on than he did against Hillary. So given that a centrist Democrat like Biden is struggling to beat Trump, I think somebody whose views were so extreme for the Democratic Party that they rejected him, I think Trump would have won easily. I do think that there's a lot of people, the Democratic Socialists, I think they believe that their numbers are much bigger than they actually are, because I think they get into that bubble on social media, specifically Twitter, which is a haven for the extreme left. And I think they think that they're a much larger percentage of the population than they actually are. Excuse me. United Federation says one of the main reasons why Biden isn't flooding this election is because Republicans are calling him a socialist. So I highly doubt actual socialists would do better. That's a good point too. And what United Federation is saying here is 100% right. There's a reason that Republicans tried to position Biden as a socialist. And nothing could be further from the truth. Joe Biden is not a socialist in any way, shape, or form. But the Republicans knew it was to their benefit to try and put that in people's minds. Joe Biden is not a socialist. But like I say, the fact that the Republicans went for that tells you a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to have to let this stream go now. Tomorrow is Free for All Friday. Tomorrow we'll be back. The Goosh, the sticky stuff doesn't get distributed in political streams, but that means it's been saved up for Free for All Friday. So you sticky stuff aficionados, make sure you have your officially licensed sticky stuff fanny packs on. As a matter of fact, we might have to start manufacturing like official sticky stuff oil barrels or something, because man, it's going to get huge now with having to build up the sticky stuff building up through these political streams. Hold on, let me get these. Gibson says, found this on Twitter, bro. I have depression, the big sad. That's a good one. I like that one, Gimster. That's good. Chris really lost. Says, not someone who's new to the channel, but I haven't been around for streams since the Kahoot streams a while back. How you been, Curtis? Very good, Chris. And thank you for being in with us. Yeah, stop in whenever you can. We have a lot, especially tomorrow. In the streams, I'll try and complete a sentence for you. Especially tomorrow for the streams, it's Free for All Friday, and those are they're different. They're fun. What's the word I'm looking for here, guys? They're frightening, but they're a blast. So if you can make it tomorrow, come hang out, because Free for All Fridays are so much fun, guys. Nathan Patterson, welcome aboard. Thank you guys so much for this great conversation, and I'm going to point that out once more before we go. Listen, particularly in these political streams, if you have a view that differs from mine, don't be afraid to voice it. That's what makes these fun. Again, you're seeing some of the people I am closest to. I am as close to these people in our community as a person can be without ever having met someone in real life. I consider them to be real, true, and close friends. And you'll see us arguing back and forth about stuff all the time. I never want people to feel like they can't. We don't allow people to come in like the other guy did, referring to a Supreme Court justice as a slut and stuff like that, and saying, eat it righties and all that, suck it righties. That's just, if you want to do that puerile bullshit, you can go out on Twitter and do that. We don't allow that here. But as far as intelligent debate and, taking a perspective that's opposite of mine, we welcome that. I love that. Again, it's one of the reasons I love you guys so much. I think we've got a great community here. Now, all that said, tomorrow is Free for All Friday. What'll happen on Free for All Friday? I don't know. I'm always afraid. I don't know. You'll have to come here to find out for yourself. Oh, and right before we go, Mad Mint says, we have people on our left that unironically call each other comrade. I always found it funny that Americans call their left socialists. Well, I don't think it's just the left, though, Mad Mint. In fairness, I mean, no, you're right. Now people are calling anybody on the left socialist, and that's not true. There are socialist wannabes among the left. But yeah, you're right. You're right, that unironically call each other comrades. So you're right. That's extremism. Yes, I agree. Guys, thank you for this conversation. As always, I had a blast. I'll look forward to it tomorrow. I have a reaction video set up for tomorrow. So that'll be going up at the YouTube channel. And then after that, I will try as soon as I can to get up another episode of the OG Dragon Ball at both, as obviously those go up at the Goosh, our Patreon, and the YouTube channel. I'll try and get them up soon. I'm going to try and get it up soon. You guys know I'm going to try and get it up soon. It's Free for All Friday. Do I touch myself below camera level on Free for All Fridays? Maybe. That's for you to decide. I'll talk to you guys later. What do you think? That just grossed me out.